Hi, friends. My name is Lauren Hope. I am a storyteller and business owner of a business I call Good Girl Chronicles. I've been partnering with This Is My Brave to put on storyteller workshops over the last couple of weeks. You are now watching Workshop 3. All right, this is just one of our housekeeping slides here that we had for the presentation. If you are interested in learning more about some of these Brave Storyteller workshops, you're more than welcome to email me at lhope@thisismybrave.org, lhope@thisismybrave.org. All right, so a little bit about me. I'm a former television reporter turned mental health advocate and storyteller. I'm also a blogger, certified peer recovery specialist, and I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my speaker's reel that'll give you a taste of what I do as a speaker.
I've got a story to tell. I've had an uphill battle. In 2014, was a reporter for Wavy News 10, and seemingly on the outside, I had it all. But inside, I was dying. So I swallowed about 29 pills I just laid there, and I said, I just want to fade to black. Very quickly, lost my entire life. And after the bottom fell out, it fell out even more, and I was homeless for an entire year. I never promised any of my children that they will have a life outside. That's not what I promised them. I have a broken heart. I do promise them that when they get up, they can do it. Survival is a choice. It's a choice we all make to keep living despite our circumstances, our bank account, our despair, our heartache. Every day you will yourself to get up, to try and endure. But to survive, it takes hope that what we endure is worth it and that there is peace and joy on the other side.
That is a speaker's reel from very early in my speaking career. See, I was a little bit fuller in the face there. And I've learned a lot about storytelling along the way, but I never thought that I would be sharing my mental health story to platforms as large as I have. So that's one of my pictures to the left there when I was a reporter. And that's me here more recently. All right, so this workshop, here's what we're going to look at. We're going to take a recap from the last workshop we did that focused on recovery storytelling, what that looks like. Today, we'll talk about the power of storytelling, preparing for a talk, public speaking tips, and how to connect with This Is My Brave. Stories are incredibly powerful. I know you wouldn't be here if you didn't think that. You know, I really started to learn the power of storytelling as a journalist. People would do a story, right, about maybe someone who was in need. And then the next day there would be donations flooding that organization, helping them. But it wasn't until I started telling my own personal story that I saw the intimate, personal, powerful ways that stories can change lives. I want to give you a couple examples. Who's familiar with Kevin Hines? This is Kevin Hines. He survived a suicide attempt off the Golden Gate Bridge at the age of 19. He's one of only 32 some odd people to survive that jump. When he got better and got well, he felt really compelled to share his story. And he did them in small functions at first, but because he dared to share, he started a worldwide conversation about suicide prevention, and not just a conversation. He's written a book called Cracked, Not Broken, which I highly recommend. He's starting a nonprofit with his wife, Margaret, and he is going around the world educating people about suicide prevention. Here's one that you may be familiar with. That is Jennifer Marshall, the co-founder of This Is My Brave, with her co-founder Ames, who passed away. So Jen wrote a blog under the name of Bipolar Mom, talking about what it looked like to live with bipolar disorder, something that this conversation that people were really not having a couple of years ago. And because she shared that story, it drew her to her co-founder Ames, who said, hey, you've got to bring these stories to the surface. Let's do a stage show. That was the infancy of This Is My Brave. And that's why we are here today. A whole storytelling movement has been created because one woman was brave enough to tell her story. A little closer to home, this is me. My blog, Good Girl Chronicles, was supposed to be the Black Carrie Bradshaw moment. I was going to talk about love, sex, and relationships from the eyes of a goody two-shoes. But things turned around when I started talking about my mental health journey. I helped people learn more about their mental health services. I connected people into organizations in ways I never thought possible. And that was the birth of my business and speaking career. So the question is, where will your story take you? What's the change that you're going to impact with your story? I think it's going to be awesome. All right, so let's do a recap from the last workshop, right? So we talked about recovery storytelling in the first workshop. The second one, we talked about how to bring focus. So when we talk about our recovery story, we generally want to give people our experience, what we've gone through, our strength, right? What we've learned, and then our hope. What is the thing that we give to our audience that lets them know that they can do this, right? The way that this layout is the way a lot of 12-step rooms encourage people to tell their stories. Give me your experience, your strength, and your hope. But when you're telling that story, be careful to avoid triggers. Be really mindful of your own triggers. Say that you're talking about a part of your story that really gets you depressed and down. It's okay. You don't have to share that part of your story yet. In fact, we really encourage you to make peace with that part of your journey before you share it with others. Only share what you've processed and made peace with. So once we've got our focus, right, we know how we're going to do the story. Paint a picture for me of your experience, right? Be sure to include those who, what, when, where, why, and how to really help me feel what it's like to be in your shoes. So finding your focus. A lot of times people struggle with this in the beginning. They're like, listen, I have this ginormous story to tell. Where do I hone in? Well, I really encourage people to find the focus of their talk in 3 words, right? Boil it down to 3 words or a news headline, right? So for me, reporter finds strength in recovery, right? Kind of 3 words. So I know everything that I tell in that story is going to connect to that focus, right? That's the focus. And then I ask myself, what do I want my audience to walk away with? Right? What do I want them to walk away with? Do I want them to have a real conversation with a therapist? Do I want them to accept their diagnosis and know that it's okay to not be okay? So, right? Focus, takeaway, all of this in between is your story. But make sure whatever you're telling here connects to that focus. This is a picture of me at my This Is My Brave debut in 2018 in Arlington. This was all of the cast and producers there. Such a great day. So throughout the workshop, I had some people submit some homework to me, right? And I wanted to share this with you because it illustrates the difference between telling a story and showing it. So this particular writer said, I could also be I could also be curled up in a ball in the corner or sitting on the floor of the bathroom. To call these times hard would be quite an understatement. Sometimes I feel I just need a few minutes to be alone in my thoughts. When I'm feeling so empty inside, it can help to either get it out or recharge myself. Just breathe. The good times come and go, but usually they occur from something in my life that makes me feel happy. I love this illustration because she obviously is having an emotional struggle as she's sharing this story, but she's physically showing me what that looks like. Curled up in a ball in the corner on the floor, right? We can imagine that. So as you're fleshing out your stories, right? Focus, takeaway, be sure to paint me a story in the middle. All right, so one of the first tips I would give to folks in public speaking is to know who your audience are, who they are, what their experiences are. This is a clip from a talk in the beginning of my speaking career where I was asked to come do a suicide prevention talk to teenagers, right? Teenagers are hard to engage with. I'm gonna play a little bit of this, not too much because I'm actually it's not my best talk and it'll relate to the audience. All right, we're gonna go to about 7:30.
I heard something in that moment say to me, turn off the television. Now, as a Christian, I've heard of a lot of people who have heard God speak to them in a still voice, but I didn't think God was going to talk to me. I am a depressed, lonely, overweight, depressed woman who's lost everything. But I replied. I said, God, I am tired. I have ruined my life.
All right, we're gonna stop it right now because that picture says it all. Look at all these kids. One's getting up to go on a bathroom break. Some people are like this. I lost my audience. I was so concerned with giving this amazing speech, that I lost my audience. And if I could have done that again, you know what I would have done? I would have taken some time and really personalized it to those kids, right? What what do kids know about suicide prevention, right? What are some of the pop stars or cultural figures that they know that have struggled with this? I would have chucked that paper. I'd have chucked it. And when I came down, I would have come down on their level. So I'll put you through that again. So anytime you're about to go to a talk, ask yourself, who am I speaking to, right? What are their life experiences for teenagers, right, that have grown up in the digital age? I could have wrote to that. I could have spoke to that. How old are they? What do they care about? And what connects and binds them? So when you ask yourself those questions, that will decipher how you tell your story. I had the great opportunity to do a talk in front of a room full of clinicians. And I very boldly told the clinicians what it felt like, me as a patient, to have to go through all of the hoops to get my Medicaid, how I had to get up at 7 o'clock and be at the agency right at 8 o'clock to get a psychiatrist, the waiting list, because I wanted them to feel what it felt like to be a patient. I wouldn't say that to people who were seeking services. They might, right? It might take the wind out of their sails. But I would say, yeah, to that other audience, I would say, yes, the system can be challenging, but I navigated through it. This is how you can too. That just kind of shows the power of knowing who your audience is. All right, friends, we can't avoid it. We can't avoid it. Stage fright, and it's possible. I wanted to show you this great little example from the WB Frog. Who remembers the WB Frog? He had an issue with stage fright.
Everybody do the Michigan ride. Everybody likes the Michigan ride. Oh my gosh, I'm really showing my age here. The WB, you can see that really, the WB Frog is really old. Actually, I don't think he's called the WB Frog. That's just the reference I know him from. But there's no escaping that getting in front of people, particularly on an audience, can be really, really daunting. So let's talk about how you can overcome stage fright. Let's talk about it. All right, really the key is preparation. Before any big talk, I always make sure to get a good night's sleep, right? At least 7 hours. I know that's what helps me operate at my best self. And I don't need anything funny. The night before a talk is not a time to try ghost peppers or food that you've never tried before, anything that's going to upset your stomach, because trust me, you're probably going to already be a little nervous. Why add to it with crazy food? Practice, practice, practice. That's one of your best keys against, stage fright and anxiety. That's not to say that you might not feel some nervousness getting on stage. I still do, and I've been speaking for over 3 years now, but I practice. I talk in front of the mirror. I rehearse it in front of my dog. I rehearse it with my friends. Sometimes I will even visualize, right? Myself doing really good. That's my next point. Girlfriend, you're gonna slay, right? I visualize myself doing that talk well. I visualize myself walking on the stage. I visualize myself people clapping for me every after the talk. It's really in keen to like meditation and mindfulness. You're training your body to think, yeah, we're gonna nail this talk. These are some of the things that I do before every single talk without fail. And I found when I do it, I tend to do a lot better. All right, here's some public speaking tips. All right, so good eye contact, right? Pick one person in the audience way in the back that you're going to connect with a couple of times. The reason why I say way in the back, because you're going to project, right? Not yell, but project so that person hears you. When you get really comfortable, you can start to say, hey, I see you there. Point, point, point. Also, breathe.
It's totally okay to breathe. I find that a lot of people who are starting out in speaking are so nervous the minute they get out on the talk, they get out on the stage, they're like, blah, 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 blah. It's like word vomit, right? No, you own that stage when you get up there. Get up there, take a deep breath, take it in, and begin. And if breathing exercises help you find a sense of calm, do that before your talk, before you ever get to the stage. Also, be sure to stand comfortably. This picture you see right here of me is with me and my dog, Boo Bear. I'm talking in an Out of the Darkness walk in Suffolk, Virginia, talking about suicide prevention. So I always make sure that my feet are like shoulder length apart, and so I've got good balance whenever I'm speaking. Also, if you are beginning speaking, have flashcards ready. I would prefer flashcards than a whole page. And just give yourself some bullet points of things that you want to hit on that talk if you're particularly nervous or you haven't had as much time to prepare. All right, so most people say that they connect more with speakers who are not talking on a paper. That can be really hard. So there are some things that you can do to kind of help memorize your story, right? So this is a technique that I learned from a speaking coach a couple of years ago. It's called stacking, right? So every part of your story, you're going to bundle it into a picture, right? You're going to create a mental picture for every part of your story. So the beginning of your story, I'll have a picture, the next, the next, the next. And we're going to keep stacking them, all right? So instead of memorizing every single word in your talk, you're just going to memorize the stacking of those pictures. Don't worry, I've got an example for you. Here's my stacking. I always start with the welcome map because that reminds me to say thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here with you and tell you my story. I remember in the worst of my anxiety, I'd be at work and I would feel my hands get sweaty and clammy, and then they would start to shake. And I'd get so anxious that I could barely put my hands to the keyboard. And then I'd look at the computer and nothing would be on the screen. That's because I hadn't written a script, because I was frozen, I was scared, I was nervous. This is the beginning of a talk that I was working on about how anxiety affected my job as a news reporter. So what did I do? I brought you into the story. Welcome, Matt. I told you about the sweaty palms. That's my entry point. And then the television screen is, I'm going to connect it to anxiety. That tends to work for me. Sometimes I've actually used this technique quite a bit, and it kind of helped me be more conversational in my talks. All right, for some people, they're like, listen, I cannot do the pictures, girl. I cannot do it. That's okay. Instead, create some bullet points for your story, right? Make like an outline of your talk, and then don't write it out verbatim, but you're going to learn how to move from bullet point to bullet point, right? You're going to just make bullets of your stories, and those will go really nicely on those flashcards, right? All right, so you're like, okay, got my bullet points ready, got my stacking, but how do I build my confidence? Well, let me tell you, honestly, I record myself speaking. I do them on blogs, sometimes when I'm practicing for a talk, and I'll watch it back. I like to see my facial expressions, what I'm doing with my hands, what I need to work with. Now, also share them with your friends and your family. At the time that I'm recording this talk, we're all in lockdown because of the quarantine. So we got a lot of time with our friends, so with our family members. So say, hey, let's do a story time. Your family and friends are generally going to be your best supporters. So share it with them first to get that confidence and affirmation you need. If you really want to take it a step further, there's a lot of community colleges that have introductory public speaking classes, which really, a public speaking class is what made me fall in love with motivational speaking before I even knew that's what I wanted to do. Also, there's an organization called Toastmasters, which really trains people of all walks of life on how to talk, and it's like a club. So that's also a way to build your confidence. All right, we're at the end of our workshop. If you're watching this on the replay, I would love to challenge you to take on some of these things, homework, if you will. I encourage you to write an outline for your story, right? What does that look like? Whether you use the bullet point technique or the stacking technique, have some type of outline. And then create some mental imagery or choose one of those memorization techniques. Also, Practice your story or share it with at least one other person, whether that's on a FaceTime or with a loved one. See how they feel, how you feel sharing it with them. And it'll also give you an idea if you're ready to take this talk, take your story beyond just the intimate confines of your friendships. Also, explore one place you can share your story in your area, whether that's an open mic night or a writing center, because there are so many opportunities to share your story live. And the more that you're out there, um, the more comfortable you're going to be speaking. All right, that is the end of our presentation. So I'm going to end that right here and close that. We're going to stop the share. That's my lovely background. So my name is Lauren Hope. It's been a pleasure to bring this Brave Storytelling Workshop with you. If you love this and you want to see the other workshops, just go to thisismybrave.org, or you can email me, lhope@thisismybrave.org, and we'll get you some recordings of this workshop. Again, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I can't wait to see where your story goes. Have a good day.